Ora è il turno di Yuval Dvir, Business Transformation Manager. Currently is Head of Online Partnership in EME region for the activity concerning Google Cloud. Please welcome to Yuval Dvir, Manager esperto in Business Transformation, attualmente Head of Online Partnerships nell'area europea, medio-asiatica e africana per le attività di Google Cloud.
Buongiorno a tutti. And with that, that's all my Italian. So thank you for coming here. I was told I have 10 minutes, so we'll make it fast. There's a lot of things that I'd like to cover. But basically what I want to talk about is the balance that you need when you go through digital transformation between the two intelligence, the main two intelligence we're seeing in the workplace right now. One is machine, technology, AI and others, and the second, very much the human, which actually comes before the machine created the second one as well. So first, this is my background. Why is that important? Because from my experience, what I've seen is that no matter where you work, marketing or otherwise, there are three categories of work you need to focus on: technology, people, and business. And what we're trying to do all the time is gather the data from multiple sources, transfer it into information and knowledge that we can get insights and action. But equally important are the cultural aspects of the organization, our ability to prioritize, to be mindful of our environment, empathetic, and that's where the idea of balancing between the art and science comes in. So technology is important, it's critical, it's driving a lot of disruption, but it can only be as good as the people who are implementing it. So it is very much dependent on us. The people can only be as good as we allow them to be. The culture of the organization, whether it's open, whether it allows people to fail, to learn, is as important. And culture eventually is derived by the leaders. So eventually you can't take technology in itself and think that you will have a successful transformation. It can't be taken in isolation. It can only be part of a holistic view of the people, the business, technology. Because there's one thing that we know for sure: the future is unpredictable and it's changing very fast. It's changing from technology, the people, and the business. So the world is changing. And nothing says more change than, what we used to get from the White House, information from the press releases used to be like this. Nowadays, it's like that. That's how we get information nowadays. So let's talk more about the disruption and drill into technology, people, and business. So from the technology perspective, the key changes that we're seeing: abundance of data. Not just data stored, but the data shared and transformed over the internet. Second, mobile. Everybody is using mobile nowadays, and it's the main device. And behind all these technologies, we have also the cloud. The interesting aspect: each technology drives one another. The fact that everybody has a phone, we're taking a lot of pictures, a lot of videos, that creates a lot of data. We want to access that data across devices, brought about the cloud. And these technologies together have brought artificial intelligence back from its winter, and we're going to talk about it soon. So, mobile perspective, the key milestone that we've seen recently is the fact that most of internet traffic now travels through mobile as opposed to desktop, and that's in October 2016. That leads to this sort of situation, or situation as you guys over here are maybe looking at your phone instead of here. But that doesn't mean that in the past we're any better, right? So that things happened in the past as well. So technology makes it easier for us in a way to be antisocial, if you can call it that way. We also have a lot of selfies. This is the famous selfie from the Oscar from different screens. But again, the human nature behind it hasn't really changed that much. It's just now that we have technology, because potentially in the 1920s, this could have been the first selfie. Let's talk about cloud, and I'm not talking about the weather, despite the fact that you have fantastic weather over here. And coming from London, you could expect me saying one or two things about the weather. That's what we speak about. I don't know what that is. Here we go. There we go. That's the cloud. Sorry. The future is unpredictable, right? The one thing that I wanted to take about from the cloud is abstraction. The whole idea of the cloud makes it easier for consumers and IT professionals not to get embroiled into what happens in the back end, but actually use an interface with technology. What's great also about that, it allows any sort of company, big or small, to straight away have the best networking and data center capability that the big guys have, in addition to the cost, the agility, and all the other benefits that the cloud provides. And now we come into the artificial intelligence aspect. So what is it? Basically, it's the science, a branch of computer science. Machine learning is basically the implementation of it. And now neural networks is the main sort of algorithm or framework to go through machine learning. So how does it actually work? Very simplicity. The step one is to training. You feed a lot of data, a lot of visuals in this case, to the neural network, and eventually it learns which variables, which neurons it needs to activate to understand whether it's a cat or a dog. And then when you feed it a new picture, you expect it eventually to activate those right neurons, and with a very high degree of probability, with a low error rate, it will tell you whether it's a cat or a dog, and so on. And there's a few other advancements that we had on artificial intelligence and the use of data, and let's look at a few of them. One of them, skin cancer. Using in a collaboration with Stanford University, you can use your cell phone, scan any sort of lesion, and it can tell you with the probability, as I mentioned before, whether it's a malignant or not. And there's other projects, making data centers more efficient, so we could be carbon neutral. Sorting cucumbers in Japan, having access and translation on the spot to everyone, and Project Sunroof, which measures the potential of solar energy across houses in the US. And obviously games. This is a short video of 50 seconds about how you deploy an artificial intelligence on an Atari game. First, how it plays with no training at all, so it doesn't know what it does. But look how great it becomes after one night of training. Let's see.
This is before the first time the AI has ever seen this data stream. So don't forget, it doesn't know what it's playing, it doesn't know what it's controlling, and you can see it's actually losing its 3 lives. It's controlling the rocket here at the bottom of the screen, and it's losing its 3 lives immediately because it doesn't know what it's doing. But after you leave it playing overnight on a single GPU machine, you come back the next day, and now it's superhuman at the game. It's learned for itself through experience how to play. So you can see now every single shot it fires hits something. It can't be killed anymore. It's worked out that the pink mothership that comes across the top of the screen in a second is worth the most number of points. And it does these amazingly accurate shots to do that. And you can, if those of you remember Space Invaders, as there's less of them on the screen, they go faster. And just watch the last shot that it does, the rocket does. There's this predictive shot to hit the last Space Invader. So you can see how...
And actually, if you think of it, artificial intelligence came to the knowledge of the public with games. So this is Kasparov losing to Deep Blue back in '97. Although in a recent meeting, he did mention that there was some sort of, not really he lost, but that's when he actually started. Then we have IBM Watson on Jeopardy. And just recently, we had the game of Go. And there's one aspect that I wanted you to see on the game of Go. There was one move. So the game of Go was live, broadcasters, commentators, you name it. And there was one move that took everyone by surprise. Let's see how that surprise came about.
Ooh. That's a very surprising move.
I thought it was a mistake.
So they thought it was actually a mistake, the move by the algorithm. That you had professionals over there, books of thousands of years of the game of Go. Nothing told them about this, which leads us to believe that maybe there's something that we call machine creativity. Defined differently than what we call machine creativity, but just as late Steve Jobs once said, creativity is basically building or connecting things together. Maybe machines, through their augmented capabilities, cognitive capabilities, can find patterns that eluded us humans, and that's why working together with technology has a huge potential in other industries as well, obviously not just gaming. And we have the AIs also beating world champions in the game of poker, thought to be a human domain with a poker face and reading the player. Well, potentially not. And obviously cars, driverless cars, and the huge potential over there is that once cars maybe learns from a mistake, that information straight away disseminates across all the other cars. So unlike human, when we usually need to experience a mishap and then learn from it, with cars, it straight away gets disseminated. So we already have the technology that enables cars to drive on the highway. As you can see, the different technologies and complexity increases as we go through urban. And let's just see how that goes.
People have expectations. So when a cyclist puts up their arm, it means they're expecting the car to yield to them and make room for them to make a lane change. And when a police officer stood in the road, our vehicle should understand that this means stop, and when they signal to go, we should continue.
And as I mentioned initially, there's an unpredictable world, right? So let's see what the team experienced themselves in terms of unpredictable.
Just a couple of months ago, our vehicles were driving through Mountain View, and this is what we encountered. This is a woman in an electric wheelchair chasing a duck in circles on the road. Now,
so that's the world we live in, and we need to be prepared for it. From a people's perspective, we're more urbanized, we're more social, and when we come to the workplace, our motivation is different. Bring into that gig economy as well, and that brings challenges into the organizations. The business models are changing, sharing economy, new markets, the capitalization. Look at 1 year, top 5 companies in the world right now, pure tech. So all this is coming into the businesses, and organizations need to transform. So as any tech conversation, there has to be a Star Wars element into it. So if there's a great disturbance in the force, Master Yoda would say, deal with it. So let's understand, with the amount of time that I have, which is basically 0, how we deal with disruption and solve the new problems while not leaving the old problems. So let's understand where the tension is and what is the standoff. And the standoff is basically through innovation, which requires non-conformity, change, ability to think creatively. And corporations, on the other one, like predictability. And that's where the standoff comes, and that's where digital transformation is trying to resolve that. But you can't resolve it just with technology or just with one item. There's a few essentials, ingredients that you need to have in place. Let's talk quickly on a few. Agile, it came from technology, but is as relevant in organization and management and leadership as well. Focus your time on the doing as opposed to just on the planning, and tame the need for unachievable certainty, because there is no certainty in the world. Dogfooding is a method to test product and services on your own employees much better than any sort of simulation. Focus on what matters, and that's where lean comes in. Everybody heard of the 2-pizza rule? That's from the CEO of Amazon, Jeff Bezos. If you ever need more than 2 pizzas to feed a team, that team is too big. So focus on lean, nimble, and small. And change. Organic change is the way to go. Anything that is forced will never stick. It's important to remember that. And there's a few other members that always said that as well. Change is key for innovation. And culture. Culture is definitely important. The one thing that I want to mention on culture is this thing. This is a cyber attack map. The origin, the source, and where it's come from. And you could ask, why is this guy showing a cyber attack map when he talks about culture? The reason is that many times those cyber attack maps are from disgruntled employees. So invest in technology, but invest in the people as well. And that leads us to the teams. Team, as far as I'm concerned, the basic unit of the organization, and who's on the team or how a team works is way more important than who's on the team. And getting that balance right is critical. And that's where we finalize everything. In work today, in the digital world, we always need to balance between the art and the science. And we need to balance it multiple times a day through our decisions. From a revolution to evolution, for being radical in how we want to change the organization, but being practical, not alienating too many people in the organization, and not forgetting our history as well. So cognitive, emotional, and whatnot. And I'll finalize with this. This is the late Peter Drucker that mentioned technology is triggering a lot of change, but it's the humans that are going to solve it. And I think Kasparov also mentioned it in his speech as well, that humans and machines, and now it's being viewed, will always surpass just any sort of super machine. And with that, thank you very much for listening. I'm done.
Ringraziamo Yuval Dvir per il suo prezioso contributo.